monthly site visits. We had 0 follow-up visits during this period. We checked the residency with 131 workers on these projects. We had no issues of non-compliance during the month of June, and there were no new MCIDC signs delivered during that period.
Any questions for Kevin?
Okay.
Take a sandwich with you.
All right, you got it.
Greg, you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right.
So they don't have the finance report.
Okay, perfect. That's it? Okay, financials through June, 6 months in, halfway in. Cash balances represent about 1.38 million through June. At the end of the year, they're about 2.2. Of that 1.3, about 900,000 sits in our checking and savings accounts. About 400,000 sits in our what we call our micro loan accounts. It's been a little bit. We're starting to get on solid footing with reimbursements from the county. So we've left a little bit more money in our checking accounts, so we could, if we had to fund some of those micro loans, because the county was taking 30 to 60 days, but I think we're in a better spot now that we're starting to really get our know when we're going to get those checks. So we're good there. Our treasury investments are about 3.8 million. We do have 2 coming due this week and next week. About 900,000 that we are going to look to repurchase, probably out into early 2026. Again, we're going to continue on that ladder process where those rates in 2026 we're going to be, the last note that we have is October 15th of 2025 at about 4.9%. We're going to go into January of 2026 at probably a little bit higher than that. I got to go check back at the rates, and then probably into even April of 26 to again continue through that ladder process, and that's about $900,000 that we are going to look to again repurchase when these maturities come due. Microloans, you can see where we are year to date through that. Overall, from if we look back at the total portfolio, our total balance, and I'm sure Tony will talk about this, is almost $1.586 million in principal that we've loaned out. $5,000 principal payments. That gets us to the 1.311 where we are through June 30th. And we are allocating, or we are accounting a 15% loan loss reserve for that. Really nothing to really as of yet. That's going to kind of be a moving target as we kind of go throughout the year, figure out if we need to adjust that. Overall revenue, receipts, we are about 994,000 compared to about a 921,000 budget, and about 213,000 compared to last year. So up quite a bit. Revenue, a big part of that is the funding we're getting from the county, the reimbursements on those micro loans, which represent $500,000. And again, we are up. We did receive, I think it was about 240,000 for the St. John Fisher bond last month, so that's in our revenue. Again, we don't budget for bond fee revenue because it's hard to predict that, but overall, we are a little bit ahead of budget, and we're about $700,000 over where we were last year from a revenue perspective. Overall,
that's in bond revenue?
What's that?
That's in bond revenue?
Our overall revenue is up 700,000. Our bond revenue represents about 240,000 of that increase. Expenses represent about 558,000 year to date. Our budget is about $565,000. So we're pretty much on track with that. There's a couple different variants in that, but overall, I think that's going to expect to even out as we get through the next 6 months. Our overall profit or receipts over our expenses is about 436,000 compared to a budget of about 356,000. So we are over budget, and last year we were about $183,000 deficit. So almost a $600,000 swing compared to where we were last year to the plus. Balance sheet is very strong. Our activity is very strong. The bond fee certainly helps us. and I think it's going to be a pretty strong year for us again for the IDC.
Okay, give us the bad news.
Well, I don't really have any besides you don't have any reports. That's the
We'll
only bad
email
news.
it out, it just
Yeah.
was a timing thing with the holiday.
No bad news yet. It's raining.
Any questions for
Yes.
Greg? If not, we're gonna move to Eugenio Maria de Hostos Charter School Bond Transaction.
Yes, thank you.
Gary, you can, are the folks here?
Yes, yeah, we have Sandra, Nikki, and John all here. If you could just give us a brief overview of the project for the board and let them ask any questions. And then I'll be here as well to give an overview of the financing.
So, our charter school has been around for 24 years, and we've grown quite a bit in the community, and our enrollment, we have wait lists that we can't necessarily meet. We have our high school currently at the Kodak Center downtown, and we want, it's a vision of the founders, a vision of our staff, to have all of our students in our community, to have a better community impact. So we want to bring our high schoolers back to the Joseph Ave campus by building, renovating the church that we currently own into a 9th grade academy, which serves the dual purpose of having the 9th graders have their own home and have their own administrators to really, that's that cusp from middle school to high school, and to give them a lot of the supports that they need that they're not getting. Also to build a new building for 10th through 12th grade, a new section 5 gym for competitions and sporting events and practices, and to do minor renovations to the middle school that is already there.
This is all on one site?
Yes, it's 1069 to 1089 Joseph Ave, and then 1119 Joseph Ave, which is on the other side of the Bethany House. So it's one site with a couple different addresses and tax map numbers.
How long has the school been there?
We purchased the Joseph Avenue site back in 2004, I believe. But we were previously, or concurrently, we had the Clifford Ave site. Yeah, and then in 2017, we purchased the Zimbert Street School, 22, Old School 22. So we're about 3 blocks away for when the project's done to have everybody in the same area.
What's the number in terms of enrollment?
Current enrollment, almost 1,100.
And how about for the new facility, what are you anticipating?
We're anticipating 1,300.
And what we have in front of the board today is a final bond authorizing resolution seeking financing in the amount of $55,395,000 with a not to exceed number of $63 million. So they're anticipating issuing the $55,395,000, but we provided a little bit of a buffer just in case there's additional cost increase or things that come in.
Who's going to do the construction?
Hamilton Stern.
And is it a fixed contract? Is there, have they agreed to?
We'll have a GMP, a fixed contract, yes.
And we expect, start and finish date.
Construction and the surveys and asbestos removal and whatnot. But the finish date will be August of 2026.
What part of the school is gonna be demolished? I'm looking at demolition. Where's gonna be torn down?
There was a rectory on the site that was full of asbestos and mold, and the roof had caved in, so that was condemned, that's been taken down. There will be minor demolition in the middle school. The classrooms, as they are too small for the school kids, so we're gonna take down some walls and expand classrooms and build science labs that are better equipped for our kids.
So the bonds are gonna be rated, right?
That's what we hope, yes. We met with Moody's rating agency 2 weeks ago, and they assure us that any day we'll find out our rating.
So what are you expecting it to be about?
I'm expecting a double B.
Any other questions? Well, thank you very much. Anything else, Barry?
No, nothing else here. We just need a vote in public session, so. we can-
So there's a motion to approve up to $63 million tax exempt, taxable bond financing for Hanging Maria de Astos Charter School to acquire, renovate, demolish,
That
and
should say
certain
later.
buildings on the school campus. There's a motion on the floor. Can we get a move? Get a second?
A second.
All in favor? Any abstain? Congratulations.
Thank you.
We're looking forward to seeing a beautiful school on Joseph Avenue. I remember when the charter school started. Very humble beginnings.
We are the longest standing charter school in this county.
Without a doubt, yes.
Yes. Thank you.
That's it?
Yeah, they're obviously free to go. You can stay the rest of the meeting if you'd like, but you're free to go.
Thank you.
Have a good afternoon. Thank you.
Some project. Need a motion to go into executive session to discuss loans.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
need a motion to approve $242,000 SBA 504 commercial mortgage for the purpose of demolishing and constructing a new building in Livingston County.
Motion.
All in favor? Any abstentions? Okay, so that passes. Motion to approve $770,000 SBA 504 commercial for the purpose of purchasing and renovating a building in the city of Rochester.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Okay. All right, the quarterly dashboard report. Vicky?
We've had an increase in activity on the microloan program, which is great. This was since we implemented the marketing campaigns with the Minority Report, WDKX, and Poder. And we plan to continue with advertising through the end of this year and into next year. The county executive delivered his State of the County focused on economic and workforce development on June 27th, and spent a good deal of time talking about the microloan program. The communications and special events department put a nice video together spotlighting one of the loan recipients, which was great. And Comida is working with WXXI on a little bit of a marketing effort, so we hope that that will help drive traffic to our outreach team even further so that we can get out there. We've started some info sessions at area libraries as well. So really just trying to add a lot more horsepower to our boots on the ground and marketing and public relations around the micro loans. Nakia Vargas, and thank you once again for approving our contract relationship with Nakia. She's been with us now for 2 weeks, and to date she's met with 6 new loan applicants that have been referred to her by our staff, and 2 of the referrals have made it back to us from Nakia, one of which was approved for funding last week. The other will be approved for funding later on this week, and the other 4 are currently still working with Nakia, and we anticipate they'll be back to us and be funded. So she's proving to be an instrumental tool in our tool belt as we work with businesses that have that need more hand-holding throughout the application process and assistance with their business planning and financial planning. So the microloan program is really bearing fruit in achieving the goals that we had really originally set out to achieve when we conceptualized the program. And we were talking about doing something like that even before it was a recommendation in the race report, and even before obviously ARPA. The ARPA award came to Monroe County. It was kind of a twinkle in the eye of some of the economic development staff that we should do something for micro entrepreneurs, and here we are, and it's working. So thank you again for all of your involvement, particularly to staff for getting out there and getting in front of the right audiences to make the program a success. In terms of our incentive program dashboard, you'll see that on page 71 in your board packets. Our great rate and great rebates programs, approvals have remained steady through the first quarter of the year. We are finding, as we have in the past, that there are quite a few repeat customers for these incentives. You'll recall in 2022, the board approved capping. If you have a great rate or great rebate incentive, you can only have 2 out at any given time. We haven't put a cap on repeat customers.
Yeah.
So if you have 2 out and then you make good on your commitments and you redeem the incentive, you can come back to us on a new application. So what we're,
How many do we have doing that?
how many repeat customers?
Yeah.
I would tentatively say at least half of them are repeats.
So what that's indicating to us is that we need to get the word out more, obviously marketing and public relations, but perhaps deterring, I don't know if we need to take action to deter some of the repeat customers.
I think it's one of those things we're gonna kind of like take it into account as we're sort of looking at revamping all of our incentive programs. Like, is this as effective as it was when they first conceptualized it?
So we don't want to repeat customers.
It's not that we don't want them, it's just like, is this really the purpose of this program? It's, you know, like we have one trucking company that comes back frequently. Do they really need our help anymore? It's just kind of like, you know, what was the purpose of this? Let's reevaluate. We're kind of,
We have limited
Yeah.
resources. There are a lot of companies, small businesses in the community that probably
And so
benefit
why
from the
aren't we
program.
telling them no when they come back?
right now, there's nothing, we don't, that's not our policy, so we can't really say no right now, so,
Arbitrary.
yeah,
Unless we change it and put a lifetime cap on it.
yeah.
Which is what we're.
Which we have for one of the manufacturing, one of the, I think the Monroe, on the job, one of them, Sharon came to me and said that it's the first time a company has actually reached their cap. So we actually have a first time somebody reached their cap for the program and they can't participate in it anymore. So we're starting to see it. So it's just kind of a, let's take a look at everything.
Well, I think we possibly need to do that because we sound annoyed.
I think not annoyed, but just to like, is this the
Wanna
purpose?
spread the wealth.
Yeah,
We can't
most
get-
bang for our buck
We
here.
can't get an answer if, is this good to repeat or not? Or if the folks are repeating, then, it doesn't hold the fidelity of the intended program.
Right, that's exactly right.
So
The answer
if,
is it incenting people to do what we want them to do?
Right.
So,
Right.
I would
And like also there's a shift, like some people, you know, is it still manufacturing equipment? We're looking at, there's a lot of companies now who need help buying software and technical equipment and those kinds of things, like should we be sort of shifting that way? I think this program, these were created in the 90s, so it's kind of, let's look at the landscape and see where we are still.
And
yeah,
it's.
that was created up under Phil's watch. We have to go back a long time, you know?
You should see the ones we didn't get.
It's a good program, but yes, there's a bit of mission creep here where the businesses that know about it are continuing to come back to the well. And perhaps, you know, it's not that we have a but-for clause in the application, but it's not hard and fast legally binding. So perhaps the jobs that are being created and the investments that are taking place would already happen without the incentive from MCIDC. And you just heard from Greg, you know, we have significant resources, but we have limited resources. And
Which we're
we
not
do wanna
using it
modernize.
all. I mean, I don't have a problem with somebody coming back
Correct.
as long as we're, you know, if we were at our cap,
Right.
then, okay, yeah, we gotta put something in to prevent them from using it again. I think it's more of a, you know, we need to get it out so we get more people using it.
Correct.
I mean, I think, to me, that's the,
And the way to do that used to drive me crazy, because it's so easy, right?
it is an
For the
easy
lenders,
process, yes.
you gotta get to the lenders.
Yeah.
And have them bring it up. And it's no brainer.
Yeah.
And it makes them look good. Very
Yes.
good.
Great.
You're right.
So that's where I'd be selling it.
Yeah, I think, so as an the economic and workforce development division is coming together in August to have a little bit of a staff retreat and talk about how we function as a team and different dynamics, how we are approaching outreach. And we want to develop a business plan specifically for MCIDC modernization and kind of putting a new spin on some of our programs and really doubling down on our investment in time and resources to promote these programs and get out in front of new and different audiences about our incentives. So that's something that we're gonna come back to the board with, hopefully in short order. But these are good programs, they're working, but we just want to spread out a little bit more
We
into.
need more people using it.
Correct.
And understanding that they can use them.
Yes.
Has anybody approached us about using,
Technology,
Yeah.
software.
technology software? I mean, you all just mentioned that. Are folks coming and asking for that?
I had an interaction with a business recently talking about the need to invest in a CRM platform and how it's cost prohibitive for some small businesses. We don't have a program to incent develop, like, you know, a subscription service to a software program. And that was just one conversation I had. I know our economic development team gets out there and they hear from folks about what they're working on, what they need, and a lot of times there isn't a fit. And often it's because they're making investments in items and programs for which we don't have dollars to support incentives. Obviously, COMIDA can support the sales tax exemption on some of those things depending on the project, but that's, I think, the lens we're looking at when we talk about technology.
So after August, when you all meet, we should have some type of, maybe clarification or maybe some type of proposal on how we're gonna go forward with this?
Not the day after, but
No, but I'm just
yeah,
saying.
it's relative.
We'll come back,
Yeah.
hopefully our next board meeting is on August 10th, and that'll be a couple days later. And so while we won't have a fleshed out business plan to put in front of everyone, we'll have some insights to share about what is our go forward
You
plan.
don't need to share anything in August, just share it in September, or
Yeah.
October. but
Okay.
We really need to take a look at it
Mhm.
and, try to see what we can come up with.
Okay.
Do you have a marketing person in-house or
We do not.
do you outsource when you do?
So MCIDC and COMIDA have a relationship with a local digital marketing company called, it's not 29 Designs anymore.
It's like,
Marketing 29, they like.
yeah, it's 29 designs. Yeah, they're.
I'm
Yeah.
sure you've heard of them in your profession. And then the county's Department of Communications and Special Events functions as our in-house PR vehicle. But it's not a perfect setup by any stretch. None of us internally is a professional marketer, social media guru. There's no one full-time staff member who's in charge of making sure that we're getting the good word out about all of our programs all the time. And across the street, the communications department, their number one priority is the county executive and everything the county's working on, which is huge and extends well beyond this department. So we're not always the focus. So that's something we really have to, I think, focus on. And we've been trying to do better with our social media. One step forward that we've taken is working with 29 Designs on, I think we're starting to compensate them a little bit more and having them pre-package some social media content for us, for staff to put out there at a more regular cadence, so that we're reaching new and different audiences with all of our programs, including Great Rebate. So,
I think this would definitely benefit from good marketing.
Mhm.
for sure.
You should help us out with that.
I know, right?
Get right in the room and help us out.
I would think that'd be something like if we sponsored one of our TMA's monthly meetings and had a presentation from your team, cause like they get like a really good attendance there, and that's the
Yeah.
exact target market that this great, at least the Great Rebate
Yeah.
would go after. Great
Robin's
rates,
taking
sorry.
notes over
I
there.
got
so
it.
we'll
And
follow
and not
up.
only do they get the
And
tool
you can tell them they can
management, a lot
come
of
back,
bankers go to that too.
a
Right,
couple of
yeah.
times.
But yeah, and we already have a good relationship with RTMA because
Right.
of Rock with Your Hands, so that's a great idea. Thank you.
Anything else there?
Just Monroe on the job activity has increased in the last year. More businesses are taking advantage of that training incentive. And we're gonna take that into consideration, plus, everything I talked about with Great Rebate, as we come together as a team at that staff retreat and talk about, modernizing our approach to our programs, our incentives, and our outreach strategy.
Is there a list of like what qualifies for those certifications for Monroe on the job?
It's like a third party.
So it's really just a general
Yeah.
category.
Okay.
I think they have a list that they look at somehow to it does have to be certified that it's a certified
Yeah, it's
program.
not internal, you can't just
Yeah.
have someone train someone.
Yeah,
They can find that.
yeah, and yeah.
Okay.
And then the annual report, for the SBA annual report is on page 73 in your packets. And thank you to Tony, to Craig, to Ashley for their hard work on our SBA annual report. It was submitted on time. We are seeking approval from the board on the report. So again, page 73 in your packet.
So we need a motion to approve this here?
Yes.
Well, we're gonna do it without reading it, right?
Unless you want to take some time.
And that's actually half the report. I had Ashley take, you have to submit to the SBA all your minutes, all your, what else is there, like all,
Well,
everything, and we figured you've already seen your minutes, and these are all documents you've already seen throughout the year, so this is, we just gave you the meat and potatoes of the.
Give me a motion to approve the 2023,
Just, I have a question first. Does the SBA come back and ask you a question?
They
They
have,
have in the past.
yeah.
okay. Need a motion to approve this,
I'll move that.
2023. We need a second. All in favor?
Aye.
SBA training. Who was Paul Hoffman?
Paul is one of the,
Sorry, go ahead.
sorry, Paul's one of the SBA representatives that we work with. He's located in Buffalo. Used to actually be located here in Rochester previously.
There he is, right there.
Yeah.
That's
Paul.
Yeah.
Were you researching Paul?
So this, Paul's presence here with us today is, relates to, just very brief and we'll come back, but, this
No.
relates to earlier when the board did their self-evaluations, for this year. We talked about the need for more training and, there are probably board members that could use a refresher course on a 504, how it's structured, how it's administered, history, kind of a 101 course, so that's the intent here for
Just take this wire right here.
yes.
You can just stay there and think about it.
Thank you for making the journey to Rochester from Buffalo today. We appreciate your partnership and working
It's not
with
much
you.
of a journey in the pouring rain.
This'll occupy the final 20 minutes of the meeting. Just a quick refresher course on the SBA 504 program. Thank you, Ron. And our relationship with the SBA through the Monroe County Industrial Development Corporation.
Did you unplug that? I did. That's why it didn't work. What? That plug was unplugged. That's why my camera wasn't working earlier. I'm gonna blame Greg for that. Just kidding. Camera.
Yeah. The owl. How's it looking?
Oh, there we go.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Paul Hoffman. I'm the Letter Relations Specialist for the SBA in the Buffalo District Office. Been in SBA for almost 35 years. I started my career here in Rochester. For the first 5 years, I did loan underwriting and servicing. And when I moved back to Buffalo, I'm a Buffalonian. My wife went to school at the University of Rochester. And I've been plugging away at this. I think the previous slide here, which I passed through, is we do have a new district director in the Buffalo District Office after 33 years. Mr. Shortino retired as the district director, and Victoria Reynolds, who was the branch manager in the Rochester office for a number of years. She had been the deputy director in Buffalo for 16 or 17 years. She's our new district director, and Virginia Smith, who you may know, who was the branch manager in Rochester, is now the deputy district director of the SBA. So we've had some changes at the program. We got a new employee coming on board in 2 more weeks. So we'll probably be getting her here in the Rochester marketplace to understand what's going on. But I want to thank Tony and everybody for giving me the opportunity to just give you a little update about SBA, what we do at SBA, a little bit about the 504 loan program. If anybody has any questions at all, please ask them. We're more than just lending at the SBA. The majority of what we do at SBA is really our technical assistance, which is now delivered through funded resource partners. So we fund an organization called SCORE. You may be familiar with them. Generally retired individuals that counsel free of charge. We fund the Small Business Development Center Network. We've got one here in Rochester. It's hosted by College of Brockport. They got offices down on Chestnut Street. We've got 3 in the Buffalo marketplace as well. They do the business plans, they do the financial projections. Both of these partners are outstanding when it comes to putting people into business and keeping people in the business and helping people grow or expand their businesses. So when we get phone calls from individuals, hey, I'd like to start a business, what do I gotta do? This is who we send them to. We also fund women's business centers. We've got one at Canisius University in Buffalo, and we've got one here at the Urban League in Rochester. Their focus is more on women entrepreneurs, women networking. They do a wonderful job too. We work very closely with the U.S. Export Assistance Centers for our small businesses that are looking to sell their goods and services abroad. The Department of Commerce has got an export assistance representative here in Rochester. They've got one in Buffalo as well. Actually, we host them in our offices here in Rochester, so a great resource. And of course, we got the Apex Accelerator right around the corner here if you're looking to get into doing business with the federal government. From a financing standpoint, well, certainly MCIDC is our certified development company under 504 loan program. The bulk of our lending program is really coming through the 7A, the guaranteed loan program, through our partner banks, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. We've also got an equity investment program called the Small Business Investment Company Program, SBIC, where the SBA lends money or invests money with a venture capital company, and then they turn around and invest it. So in Buffalo, we've got Rand Capital. It's got a couple funds that's got some SBA money in. And here in Rochester, we work with Cetus Capital Partners. So that is how we deliver the equity side of financing small businesses. We've also got a bonding program where we can actually guarantee bonds issued by sureties to try to assist our contracting businesses. A lot of opportunity going on with that right now. We've got the new stadium in Buffalo, ton of opportunity there for small businesses. Now we've got the Kensington project in Buffalo where they're going to cover the expressway going downtown Buffalo. That's already starting to percolate up, and we've done some outreach events with small businesses trying to get. So this is a great program. A lot of people don't know about the surety bond program, but with some of these, these are some of the largest projects that have happened in the Buffalo area. We want to make sure that those small businesses get their crack at it. And then we've got our microloan program. That's the small loan program. We lend money to a community-based organization. They re-lend that money out, and we work with Petstone here in Rochester. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. We are also government contracting. We've got our 8A program for socially and economically disadvantaged businesses, where we can get them at some set-aside contracts. We also have the Hub Zone program. That's for businesses that are located in historically underutilized business districts. There's set-asides for that. We've got our veteran-owned small business and service-disabled veteran-owned small business programs. We can get contracts set aside for these businesses, as well as our women-owned small business program. So a lot of opportunity out there, and certainly in Virginia Smith, the branch manager in Rochester here, she's kind of overseeing all this at the present moment. So there's definitely a lot of opportunity there for those folks that are in the government contracting world and want to possibly get at some of these set-aside opportunities. SBA also acts as the voice of small business and government. We monitor the activity of other federal agencies to make sure that they're always analyzing what the impact of rules and regulations are on small business, as well as we are the principal statistic gatherer of small business through our Office of Advocacy. We've got a national ombudsman headquartered in New York that kind of takes care of a lot of that stuff. And finally, we are the agency that makes disaster loans. So when there's a federally declared disaster, we can make a loan for uninsured loss to an individual for their personal residence or personal property. We can make a disaster loan for uninsured loss for someone's business property, real estate, and equipment. We can also make economic injury disaster loans for businesses that have been economically And that's what those COVID idle loans that you probably have all heard about, those were economic injury disaster loans, replacing lost working capital from what is out there, as well as a program for our military reservists that get called to active duty. So if they get called to active duty and they own a small business, we can actually lend them money to hire somebody to run their business or to provide them with sufficient working capital to make sure that all their bills are being paid during their term of deployment. And these are all long-term low-interest loans, 30-year loans, 3.75%. Certainly, those COVID idle loans are kind of out there. People are probably familiar with them. But at the present moment, all of that is done with. We had that big Christmas storm in Buffalo. That was I think, was the last significant disaster that was declared. Although I believe there is a disaster declared. We got an office currently, I think, in Canandaigua. The SBA is staffing an office for. There may have been some flooding or some other type of agricultural disaster that was declared down there. But there's a lot of that stuff going on all the time, and we are certainly the agency that comes in there with those economic injury or uninsured loss. You always start with your insurance company, and you go to FEMA, then whatever the shortfall is, you come to SBA and you borrow that long-term low-interest money. Our guaranteed 7(a) program, that's our flagship program. We do 600 loans a year. 550 or 60 of them are going to be done under that program. The rest are going to be done under 504. That program is in conjunction with our guaranteed lending partners. We do not make loans directly at the Small Business Administration at the present time. We stopped that 1993, 1994. Those programs are still in the books. They're still on the regs. Congress chooses to not fund those programs. This administration would love to fund those programs. It hasn't quite happened yet, so we will see what happens. We certainly have got better infrastructure to deliver direct loans more than we did just a few years ago, but at the present moment we don't do that. We've got the 504 loan program, which we'll talk a little bit about. Economic development program tied to job creation and retention, fixed asset financing only. And then we got our microloan program. Again, we work with community-based intermediaries. We lend them money. I think many of our partners have borrowed the money from us at 0 or 1% interest, and they turn around and they re-lend it out. These are loans $500 to $50,000, and they're typically targeted for businesses that are having difficulty accessing the traditional sources of getting financing. So they go to these organizations, and they're borrowing money, typically small amounts. I think the average microloan is around $10,000 or $11,000, but nonetheless, it's a program that's out there. And we oversee that, and we perform the compliance on that program here at the local level. Whoops.
I think you should use your arrow. Do you have an arrow, Katie?
There we go. Okay, so we've got all these programs. We don't really do much directly ourselves. So who's delivering all these programs? So from a financing perspective, if you're in our guaranteed lending program and you are what we would call a participating lender with SBA, you're going to be a bank or a credit union, state or federally regulated. We have agreements with all of the banks in the 14 most western counties of New York State, which comprises the Buffalo District, and a handful of credit unions. Certainly ESL is one of our largest partners. We have an agreement with Reliant out in Wayne County. We've got an agreement with High Point, the old Olean area federal credit union down in southern Adirondack County. Those are our 3 primary credit unions. They are active with us on an annual basis. A couple other smaller ones have agreements with us. They've never utilized it. We also work with a bunch of organizations that are directly regulated by the SBA. We call them small business lending companies. Now, this administration recently announced an expansion of that program. Typically, there were 14 licenses available. Someone wanted to get into our program, they had to go to somebody else and buy the license from them. The Biden administration opened that up and has started giving out more licenses. I believe 3 more licenses have been made available. And these are going to be organizations like ReadyCap Lending out of New York City, one of our biggest lenders, Harvest Small Business Finance, another one of our big nationwide lenders, Lendistry.com. Again, they are directly regulated by the SBA, and typically their sole purpose is to be in the SBA lending world. We had a program that was called the Community Advantage Program, which allowed non-regulated non-SBA licensed community-based organizations to make 7(a) guaranteed loans. As part of our expansion of these directly regulated lenders, we created a new category of lenders that was part of that, this administration's desire to get more lenders in the program. And we converted all of these lenders to community advantage small business lending companies. So they're now directly regulated by SBA. They're mission driven, they have a $350,000 cap. They gotta make 60% of all the loans that they make with SBA guarantees in underserved communities. We do not have any lenders in the Buffalo and Rochester marketplace that are CA, SBLC lenders. We have one lender that is Pursuit, but Pursuit is everything, and they actually have a subsidiary that is a community advantage small business lending company. So they would be the only lender that is really actively looking to make those types of loans in the community. So from a 7(a) perspective, that is who we are dealing with. We've got some of the biggest national players here locally. M&T Bank is this year the ninth most active SBA lender in the United States. They've been a top 6 or 7 lender for as long as I can remember. Chase is, I think, ahead of M&T Bank. Bank of America is ahead of M&T Bank. Key Bank is just below M&T Bank. So we've got some significant players in the SBA area, and we have every reason to believe at the district that when a small business goes to a bank, is looking to get financing, that lender is considering, okay, I don't know if we can lend them money ourselves, let's think about the SBA and let's try to make it happen. And so we've got the big players out there that are really driving the marketplace. And we'd like to tell our lenders, or even our smaller lenders, if you're not in the game, you're not in the game. Everybody else is in the game, so you got to get in the game because somebody's going to make that loan to that small business. Somebody is going to do it. And more than likely, they will ultimately use SBA and our programs to make sure that loan is done. So if you're not using our programs, you're losing out on an opportunity that somebody else is absolutely going to end up doing. In the 504 area, we deliver it through 2 sets of organizations. We got our third-party lenders. So somebody other than the certified development company, Monroe County, has got to be part of this transaction. It's going to provide that first position loan. So any bank or credit union and other financial services companies can deliver that first mortgage as part of a 504 project. We've got some of the most active third-party lenders in the country are Bank of America, Chase, and M&T Bank. So they're out there, they love the program, they're making the program using the program all the time. They're considering the most, when there's a project out there that they feel fits well under 504, our largest lenders in the country are out there making sure that we get that out there. In terms of certified development companies, one of the biggest ones in the country is Pursuit. They're out there. They're the only one that operates really in the Buffalo area, but here in Rochester, obviously, we've got the county. We've had a great relationship for a long time. I think you guys were recognized a number of years ago as one of the better small CDCs in the country, so that's great. So you've got the small business who approaches a lender. The lender makes the determination that they would like to use the 504 loan program. They reach out to the certified development company and say, hey, we need you to facilitate that portion that's being done by the SBA. Everybody works together, delivers the loan to that business. And certainly from a microloan perspective down there at the bottom, again, these community-based organizations. We've got 3 organizations that are generally servicing the district. Pursuit, Pursuit is a 7(a) lender. They're a 504 certified development company. They're a community advantage SBLC. They're a micro lender. They're everything. It's just the way it is. In Buffalo, we've got the Westminster Economic Development Initiative. And then here in Rochester, we got the Pastor Price. So these are the folks that are helping us deliver our programs and services to the small businesses that we serve. So what is a 504? Down at the bottom right, you're seeing that. It's a loan. 504 is 50, 40, 10. 50% done by a third-party lender, up to 40% done by SBA, facilitated through a certified development company, and as little as a 10% equity injection by the small business. It's a long-term, fixed-rate financing loan for assets only, no working capital. So it's going to be for the purchase, renovation, or expansion of real estate, the purchase of equipment. Now we do have a debt refinancing program under 504 that allows you to refinance loans that were used for the purchase or renovation of machinery and equipment as well too. But it's a job growth or job creation program. There's either got to be jobs created or there's got to be jobs retained that might otherwise have been lost because the program wasn't utilized by the lender. That's the focus. But it's also a partnership between our lending community, those third-party lenders, and the certified development companies that are facilitating SBA's share of the money, or share of the project. Where do we get our money from? We sell debenture out there in the marketplace. It's like a government bond. That's how the government is getting their money, and we're delivering it to small businesses. Like I said, the down payment for advantages of the program is as little as 10%. There are some situations where the small business would have to put a little bit more money in the project. If the business hasn't been around for 2 years, we consider it a new business. We want 15% equity instead of 10. If it's a specially purpose building, like a hotel, can't do much with a hotel other than a hotel, we're going to require an extra 5%, so instead of 10, it'll be 15. If it's both a specially purpose building and a new business, then it's 20%. And that is almost always, pretty much every brand new hotel that you see being constructed in the district has probably got a 504 as part of it, and there's going to be a 20% equity injection on that. Other advantages, certainly from the third-party lender's perspective, they're in a preferential position, first mortgage on the property, with the federal government behind them. So only two things are going to happen. The government's going to buy out their mortgage, or the government's going to give them the property. So in both ways, they're a 50% loan to value. So there's a significant benefit to a lender to participate in that program. But from the borrower's perspective, they're getting that fixed rate long-term financing. So I don't know if you can kind of see this. Unfortunately, over the last 2 years, we have seen a more than doubling of the interest rate on 504s. And since most 504s take from 12 to 18 months to close, you have some customers that got approved for 504s in early 2022 and are now just closing them within the last, say, 6 months, and they've watched the rate. The rate gets set on the 504 when the debenture sells, which is our closing, not when the loan is originally approved. So we unfortunately have seen that upward trend of rates, which has made it challenging because the customer's aware that that's the way the world is, but because we had seen historically low rates for such a long period of time, everybody's perception of rates is oh my God, 6% is such a terrible rate. When I started, the prime rate I think was 12 or 14% when I got out of college, and your first home mortgage was 12, 15%. I think everything's great now, but that's not what the way people perceive these things now. So hopefully we will start to see a migration back down of the rate. So we were at 6.7 in April in the 25-year. In June it closed at 6.3. Again, there's been some fluctuations, plus or minus 30, 40 basis points, but we'll have to see what happens. Certainly, if the Fed starts lowering rates, we will over time start seeing a reduction in the interest rates. But the lender can charge whatever they want for that third-party loan. They just can't exceed 6.5 points over the New York State prime rate. So but they can do whatever they want, and they have to have a minimum maturity of 10 years. Our loan's either going to be 20 or 25 years on the real estate. It's going to be 10 years on an equipment, and then our rate is our rate. Right now, we're closing at 6.3 for June. But again, a lender can do whatever they want on that first position. So it gives that third-party lender, not only they get in that preferential lien position, but they also have, they can get a little bit more when it comes to the pricing, and they can shorten up the term, so they can actually get out of the project quicker than we can get out of the project, because they can advertise it over at a minimum 10-year term. But that's okay. We're out there trying to provide financing, and certainly our borrowers are getting a 20-year fixed rate prime. So what are some of the benefits for the borrower? And again, it's always about how we're going to benefit the borrower. Even with the doubling of the debenture rate, prime is still 8.5 right now. A lot of small businesses, if they're going in to get a line of credit or something like that, they're borrowing at prime +2, prime +1. So we're giving you a below market rate fixed for 20, 25 years. You know what that payment's gonna be. You know the impact of that loan to the cash flow of the business and the way that's going to be going forward, and you don't have to worry about it fluctuating up and down. Obviously, the low down payment, I'm not quite sure there are any lenders out there that are gonna do a straight up mortgage at a 90% loan to value to small businesses. We're gonna do that here at SBA. It certainly helps offset some of the interest rate risk to the borrower because we're locking everything in. Because we have the ability to go to 20 and even 25 years on real estate, that's a fully amortizing loan. A lot of lenders out there might have 5 or 10 year calls or reviews on those loans. No, ours is the full amortization of the loan, so that the borrower knows what they've got moving forward. Almost all of the closing fees can be rolled into the loan, so there's gonna be not a lot of other miscellaneous expenses that are gonna be coming out of the borrower's pocket to get this thing closed. Many times the 504 loan program is a more cost-effective program than our guaranteed loan program. Our guaranteed loan program in normal circumstances has fees. The fees are anywhere from 2 to 3.75%, whereas you're not gonna get that high under 504. Now, right now, unfortunately, we've got no fees up to $1 million, and we've got fees cut in half up to $2 million. So the 7A world definitely has a lot lower fee structure today, but that is because Congress has been electing to subsidize our programs. We're only subsidized through September 30th. I believe we will be announcing our fee structure in another week for next fiscal year. It'll be interesting to see how that actually all comes about. And if we return back to the normal fee type structure, which is 2, 3.5, 3.75, the 504 loan definitely could become much more attractive, even on those smaller loan amounts. And from a collateral perspective, when you do a 504 loan, we're just going to be looking to take a lien on whatever is being financed by SBA. So that program isn't looking to lock up all the assets of the business and really restrict that business from being able to go and engage in the normal type of lending that a typical small business has, whether it's lines of credit, equipment financing, machinery financing, things of that nature. Does anybody have any questions? Thoughts, concerns, issues, things I need to pass off to Victoria or Virginia? Well, we're always available. We got offices in the federal building here, we got offices in Buffalo, and we thank you for the great partnership we've had with the county for a long, long time, and the great work that you do. I think your portfolio is pretty clean, no real issues. I know your annual report just got submitted. I gotta put a little memo together. I haven't looked at the numbers yet, but we'll see if the folks in headquarters have any other issues. They'll get back to you if they do. But thank you very much for everything you do for small business and for actively utilizing our programs on a regular basis. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you all for sitting through Paul's presentation as well. Again, just related to just the need to remind staff, the important relationship with the SBA and the mechanics of how these deals function and how MCIDC fits into the larger puzzle. So we'll try to make more training and
Paul, you want to stay and have lunch with us?
available to
You know what, honestly, I would normally, but Virginia squeezed something in for me in less than an hour down in Chilai, so I'll be heading there, and then Tony and I are going on and visit them later, so.
Have a good afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Sorry we kept you past the 1 o'clock hour.
We need a motion to adjourn.